Yo guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're talking about Feral BiS list for Phase 3. This BiS list took me a surprisingly large amount of time as I kept trying to optimize every little detail about it, and today I'm happy with where it's at to the point where I'm going to share it to the world. So let's jump right in. First things first, always we go over talents. Talents are slightly different for a lot of people because this is what I've been running with the entire expansion, and this is what most people are doing post Feral buff. So these are your talents, these are your glyphs. Let's look into the gear. Now about the gear, we're going to go through it pretty quickly, and then I have 4 big notes that I want to talk about at the end regarding the gear as a whole. Big ticket stuff. So let's jump right in. Of course, first things first, we're going with the 4-piece rune totems gear. This is going to be your heroic 258 item level 4-piece T9 gear. You're only going to be able to get this from heroic TOGC, and the tier tokens are limited. It should be noted that druids in general are going to be kind of low prio on the Vank token for this, as unholy decays are most likely going to be your #1 priority target for it, so you might get a little bit bumped down on the list. In terms of between druid and mage, it's kind of a toss-up. I'd imagine that most mages are going to be proud before your feral, and then lastly your feral will probably get some of that loot. Vank token is going to be just super contested, so just embrace the fact that getting this 258 item level gear might take a little bit longer for you. Charge the air dart is going to be your best neck. Of course, we go with the tier shoulders. Your best cloak is for sure going to be the 272 item level armor pin cloak coming off of a noob in TOGC. This is basically going to be best in slot for the remainder of the expansion. There are some BiS lists for Phase 4/Phase 5 that use a different cloak, but in the end, this cloak is basically comparable to it. Just depends on your gear sets, so consider this your best in slot forever if you're able to obtain it. Same thing with the chest, about tier. Our best wrists are actually solar bindings coming from Algalon in 25-man. So these were not your BiS for the current phase in Phase 2, but they are your BiS for Phase 3. So if you don't already have them, you definitely want to try to get your hands on them before Phase 3 comes out, because you will want that expertise and the high eye level that are on these bracers. They just are really good for this phase. Best weapon is going to be Hellion Glaive, and there's an Alliance version of this as well. Your best gloves are going to be coming from 10-man TOGC. We really like the high armor pin and the 2 sockets that come out of these gloves. Just extremely valuable, and your best off-piece here, actually. Surprising off-piece here. Best belt is going to be your belt from 25-man with a lot of hit on it. Best legs, of course, this is going to be T9 tier piece. Best boots are, of course, the hit armor pin boots that come out of 25-man. One of your best rings is going to be the ring coming from 25-man, the agility, haste, crit one, Band of Callous Aggression. For best ring, we're going with Brand's Signet ring, but we'll get to that in a second. Of course, your best trinket is going to be Death's Verdict or Death's Choice, depending on if you're Horde or Alliance. Of course, Mjolnir Runestone, and we actually do have a new idol this phase that actually does sim out higher than our current idol, the Shred idol, so this is going to be a new idol for us to use. Now, a lot of things that we want to jump into. So I have 5 pieces that I want to go over. The first one being, this is a Horde setup. So we have 8.23% hit here. If you need, or if you're able to use less hit because you are Alliance, there's a couple ways you could go about it. Or if you just needed more hit to just finish out your gear a little bit better, there's a couple ways you could go about it. One extremely efficient way to get a little more hit would be using the Planestalker band coming from 10-man TOGC. This has 44 hit rating and a yellow socket on it, so this is a really great way to get some hit if you need some hit, which you probably will as you're gearing up to BiS. And then any other ways that you can drop hit are, of course, if you look at my gems. I have a lot of gems that are using strength and hit on them. Speaking of these gems, we actually are gemming for strength here. As you can see in this ring here, I have a strength gem instead of a delicate one, an agi one. Reason being is because we are really inching close to the agi, or the crit cap in this phase. Are we hitting that crit cap? No, not necessarily. The set bonus from the tier 9, the 4-piece does increase our Ferocious Bite crit chance by 5%, which actually will push Ferocious Bite into the crit cap, which means eventually you will get enough gear where your Ferocious Bite will not be critting. It will always have a crit in this phase. However, we're just not going to gain as much as we normally would from agility because we have so much crit in this phase. Again, we're pushing fully raid buffed in cat form. We're close to 67% crit. So it's pretty insane the amount of crit that we have here. So strength is going to be really good for us after we've hit our armor pen soft cap. So that being said, professions, as you can see, I have tailoring and NG on my setup. I've been running with tailoring NG since I've been in phase 2 and obtained Mjolnir Runestone. It just kind of works out better once you can get your armor pin soft cap to go tailoring instead of jewel crafting. If you can get your soft cap without JC. That's just kind of like the simple math on how it works. But the TLDR is it really doesn't matter. You can go JC or you can go tailoring. It's not going to be the end of the world. It is not a huge DPS gain by any means, but it is enough for me to say I'm going tailoring, and I think you should too. Next thing I want to talk about is your best trinket before Death's Verdict. Now, let's say you have your Mjolnir Runestone from this phase. What is the next best trinket that we can run with until we get our actual BiS? Well, it's actually going to be your Comet's Trail. Now, a lot of people are saying Comet's Trail is your best for this phase. Personally, I've been going with Dark Matter because I think Dark Matter is just so much easier to obtain, and the difference in DPS is only going to be around about like 10 DPS. It's extremely, extremely small. Comet actually gets better the closer to BiS that you get in phase 3 than Dark Matter, because the Dark Matter proc gives us a lot of crit rating, which again, we just don't really need this phase. So as you scale and get more and more armor pin and get more and more crit on your gear, the better haste gets. So haste is actually even better for us in phase 3 and in phase 4. So Comet's actually sims out to be more valuable than it currently is in comparison to Dark Matter in phase 3. Despite it not being your best in slot, if you can get your hands on a Comet's, that would be pretty nice because you can use that because Feral is potentially slightly lower on the Death's Choice prio. Again, that's just going to depend on your guild, how y'all do loot, or if you're just going to buy it in a GDKP, then just completely ignore this. Just wanted to throw it out there that Comet's is going to be a little bit better this phase than it was last phase, even though it is still really, really good. Just wanted to throw it out there. Another thing I wanted to throw out is weapons. So you have a choice between your Hellion Glaive or Twins Pact. And this is your polearm versus your staff. And there's a alliance version of these two comparisons as well. Now the staff has a little bit more attack power, and it basically swaps haste for crit. Now, these two come out to sim extremely, extremely close to each other. We're talking about 10 DPS difference, 12 DPS difference. It's almost as much as just a sim variance could be as how close they are. Technically, every sim that I've run and every gut instinct in me tells me that Hellion Glaive, the polearm version of TOGC, is going to be your best in slot. I have no reason to believe otherwise. However, it's just worth noting that if you're in some weird situation where a hunter gets the polearm over you, or the staff drops as well, and your loot council is dumb, or whatever the situation is, you can use Twins Pact as your BiS, or at least until you get Hellion Glaive, because it is so close. They are so insanely close that it's completely fine. It's about, again, 10 DPS difference between Hellion Glaive and the staff. So completely up to you. Not a big deal here. Don't lose sleep over this. Don't lose sleep over it. And the last thing I want to talk about is the 4-piece T9 versus your Old War 252s. So as you can see, getting this 4-piece T9 of 258 item level, not only are you Druids, you're low prio, but you only get a certain amount of tier tokens per clear. Also, assuming you actually get 45 out of 50, which I'm hoping that you will. It might take you a while to obtain this 258. So the question becomes, because the 245 item level, this version right here that I'm hovering over, because this is so easy to obtain, because you can literally just obtain 4-piece T9 from emblems, but it's again going to be the 245 item level, what is going to be the choice? A lot of people are going to come around asking, do I drop my Embrace of the Gladiator? Do I drop my Leggings of Cunning Deception for 4-piece T9, even though it's the 245 item level version? And I've run a lot of sims on this, and again, just based on my instincts and based on what I'm setting up my character BiS list setups for, I can't see a world where I can support that. I think you actually keep your Embrace of the Gladiator, or just equip this item from Jiraxis. I think this might be BiS on rogues potentially, but after that you can equip this, because again, you might be a little it might take a little longer to get your 258 item level tier chest, so you can get by with only 2-piece T9, because your 2-piece T9 is not that great. It's good, but it's not that substantial. So you can run 2-piece T9 and then just run off pieces in your chest and legs and whatnot, or even keep using your shoulder pads of the Intruder if you could make good value out of the expertise and hit, not going over your caps for any reason. So just keep in mind that using 258 item level T9 for 2-piece is great, and until you get all 4 pieces, you probably aren't equipping all 4 pieces. So just keep in mind your 4-piece T9 might take a long time to assemble in the most BiS, most optimal setting. But that's it, guys. Thanks so much for watching. I tried to keep this one as informative as possible. I feel like I've delved into the Phase 3 setup as much as I possibly can. But again, there's a little bit of flexibility here with the gearing, but this is the best I could come up with, and I hope this helps you guys. Anyway, see you on the next one. Peace.